So let's now look at some slightly different framings with Isabel standing up. Now, one thing I might mention here is that I'm shooting at f5.6, so I'm not even considering depth of field at this stage. I've got a medium depth of field, not too shallow and not too deep. So again, here, using this rule of thirds idea, we have Isabel standing on the third line in from the left, with the tree in the path giving us the 2/3 of the other side. And again, on the 17mm lens, I've tilted slightly down to frame that. If I wanted to go into a tighter frame, let's say into 35, that's the exact frame from the opening shot. So there we go. We go straight into 35. It's nothing. So we always have to pan and tilt to readjust the frame as we go in to a tighter field of view, which is what happens when you use a longer focal length. So I tilt up and pan left slightly, and then again keeping Isabel on those third crosshairs. Isabel, I'll get you to look this way for me. There we go. And she could even look straight into camera lens, and that shot would work. Let's try tighter again, up to 55. That shot I don't hate, but to keep this true to rule of thirds, I'd probably frame it about there. Again, Isabel, you can just look into the frame for me, into the lens, or we can have a look off camera. Both work. This is a very simple way to always achieve a great looking frame. Don't feel you always have to try and reinvent the wheel. I know I've said that already, but please, you know, most of the work I do is formulaic. And what you can do with formulaic work is just add your twist on it with a bit of lighting, perhaps alternating depth of field, but don't go too far from the kind of golden rules, because they're there for a reason. It's because they work. Now I want to show you a little experiment. I haven't changed anything in the camera position apart from the lens. We've swapped over to the 70 to 200. Now in this frame here, I mean, you know, you always get these happy accidents. I actually like this frame. I think it's quite dramatic. We are shooting at f8, so not what I would regard a shallow depth of field, but this long lens compresses the background. Now, I happen to like that frame, but let's just frame this up in true rule of thirds. True rule of thirds would be putting Isabel's eyes on those crosshairs, and that would give us a really lovely frame. So there we are at 70. Let's do it at 100. And as you can see, I'll just move the eyes ever so slightly and tilt the camera down. As we get tighter, the field of view narrows, and so almost like a laser focus, you have to you have to change the pan and the tilt to get that rule of thirds in the same position. Just watch my focus there. So that's at 100. Let's look at 135. Really big close up on the eyes. And we're at f8 here, and we're still having to pull focus with a very narrow margin. So there we are at 135, and then we go all the way up to 200, and we've got a big close-up of the eyes. Now, her whole face is filling the frame here, so rule of thirds becomes slightly more tricky. What we could do is place one of the eyes on the rule of thirds, or do we take the nose as a rule of thirds? I would be inclined to do something like that. And this is where the interpretation comes in. It's not an exact science, but the ballpark is to be putting the most important part of the frame, the bit you want your viewers to focus on those cross hatches. And cameras like this, and maybe your camera will have it as well, might have a framing guide, a grid that you can put on to your viewfinder while you're learning this stuff, just to see where you go with it. And once you get proficient, you can change it around. So that's a nice big close-up, and at f8, it's pretty dramatic.